In viewers, you're welcome to the live chat with Weinglo Family International. I hope we are all doing well and we are following the protocols. We are maxing up, we are washing our hands, and we are observing social distancing. It's very important because we need everybody alive. My name is Glabuatima Ando, a seaside prevention activist, the founder of Weinglo Family International, and your host for live chat with Weinglo Family International. Weinglo Family International has decided to engage the viewers and followers on how to deal with the stresses of life. That's what we've been doing for some months now, and trust me, we are learning a lot and we are really impacting lives. There are things that people need to discuss and people don't even know about, but we are learning it from the professionals that comes on here. So today we are going to be talking about emotional blackmailing. But before then, please share to 10 people. 10 people. Let's share to 10 people. Share to your friends. If you can even share to 30 people or invite people to come and also listen so that it helps them. Because a lot of people in relationship today are being emotionally blackmailed, and if they find it very difficult to even reach out to people or cry for help. Hence the topic for today: handling emotional blackmail and in blackmail in relationship. So we'll be talking to our guest today is Isaac Newman, author, a clinical psychology and a medical doctor. That's our guest today. So very soon we will be adding him and then we can start talking. But before then, share to 10 people, 30 people. Share. And the questions, you can push them now. Have you ever been blackmailed emotionally? How did you go about it? How did you handle it and all that? Our guest is on, so we are adding our guest and then we can get started. So share to 10 people. Let's share to 10 people. Share to 10 people. I'm also trying to share to 10 people. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
How are we doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
We can't see your face. You are lost.
That,
All right. Okay.
uh,
Welcome.
uh, yeah,
Welcome.
hello. It's been a long day, actually.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
can imagine. For doctors, you normally don't have enough time, but we are very grateful you made it to today's live chat to educate our
Thank,
viewers.
thank, thank you for having me.
All right. Okay. So, dog, we want to talk about emotional blackmailing. Most
Yeah.
people go through emotional blackmailing in their relationships and even find it very difficult to cry for help. Some people even don't know at all that things that they go through in their relationship are called emotional blackmail. And then they, just because the person is threatening you and all that, they don't tell anybody, and they, some even go to the extent of dying in that relationship. So today we want to talk about it. What is emotional blackmail?
Someone would ask, why a clinical psychologist? Is it a psychological problem? Is it a mental problem? And so let me quickly explain that usually
Okay.
when we say mental, we are looking at three things: a person's thinking, feelings, and behavior. Right? How
Okay.
you think, and how you behave. Right? And this thinking, feeling, and behavior should do four things to become significant. One, it should cause you distress. So any thinking, any feeling, or any behavior that is causing you distress. Distress means that you're a certain kind of discomfort, unhappiness, a certain kind of pain, anything discomfort at all. It means you are mentally unwell. You need help. The second is
Okay.
that anything, feelings, or any behavior that is causing dysfunction. You're not able to function properly. Your day-to-day activities going up and down.
Okay.
You're able to study, being able to go about your normal chores and stuff like that. So any thinking, feelings, and behavior that is causing a certain dysfunction for you, it means that you need some help. The third is any thinking, feeling, and behavior that is causing any damage, right? Damage to yourself, to your relationships, to your work, to your environment, to everything around you. You realize that because of a certain thinking, feelings, and behavior, it's destroying everything around you, right? It means that
Yeah.
you need help. Fourth one
Yeah.
is that thinking, feeling, and behavior is deviation from social norms. Deviation from social norms. Because in a certain healthy environment, we all expect people to behave in a certain way that is
Yeah.
appropriate in that setting. So when you
Yeah.
realize that a thinking, a feeling, and a behavior is deviating from the norm, then we need to find out whether everything is fine, right?
Right.
So on three levels: your thinking, feelings, and behavior. And if it's causing distress, dysfunction, damage, and deviation from social norms, we say you are mentally
Okay.
unwell. You need, right? And that is a summary of mental health, right? Because all the mental health issues is around this three: thinking, feelings, behavior. Thinking,
Feeling.
feelings, behavior, right? And so that is why even the topic about emotional blackmail becomes important, and it's under mental health, right?
Health. Yeah.
Because a mentally healthy person should be able to do these things. One, a mentally healthy person should be able to cope and adjust to situations. So anybody who is struggling to cope and adjust, the person is mentally unwell, unhealthy. The person should be able to
Okay.
form and maintain meaningful relationships. So anybody who is struggling to form and maintain meaningful relationships, the person is mentally unwell. The person should be able to uh, discover and pursue meaningful life goals, right? Anybody who is struggling to pursue meaningful life goals, the person is mentally unwell. Then the person should be able to live independently. Anybody who is over dependent on others for anything, emotional support, physical support, whatever the support is, that because of that they cannot be independent in their own thinking, in their own feelings, their own emotions, right? They may not be able to uh, do that properly. It means they are mentally unwell, right?
Okay.
And this aspect is even where emotional blackmail can fall under, because there are people who are emotionally not independent, right, in themselves. Also, they are thinking, the way they feel about themselves, the way they do the stuff, right? And so they are mentally unwell. Then
Okay.
also the person who is mentally well is able to, I said, form and maintain meaningful relationships, right? Anybody who is struggling to maintain any relationship, right? We're talking about relationships.
Network, but don't worry. Yeah. Oh, network. Please.
Are
Uh,
we back online?
yeah, we are
We're back,
on.
right?
Yes. Yes, please.
All relationship issues is also under mental health. And
Okay.
and the final thing is that the who is mentally well, the person's presence in any environment should progress the environment and not cause problems. So
Okay.
anybody who's present in environment is always causing a certain kind of problem, the person is mentally unwell. So these are the measures. So there are a lot of people who are having various issues, but they don't know that it is on the domain of mental health and that
Yes.
they need help. They
Yes. Yes.
don't know. So
Yes.
they
Yes.
suffer quietly, right? They suffer quietly, hoping that it will work, because people make these issues personal issues, right? It is my personal issue, but it is not a health issue. So nobody really comes to the hospital and says, I'm struggling with my relationships, I'm struggling with my feelings, or I'm struggling with this
At
and that,
all.
so please help
Yeah.
that. Because people know that it is in the domain of health. It is a mental health issue. So things under emotional blackmail is also a health issue, regardless of the meanings you assign to it. Because it's in the context of thinking, feelings, and behavior. It's in the domain of mental health, right? So that is why people will need some
Help.
help. They need some external help to be able to deal with that. So that is the foundation I wanted to lay,
Okay.
right? So back to the topic,
Okay.
emotional.
Okay.
I hope that is clear, right?
Yeah.
That is clear, right?
Very clear.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
Very good foundation.
emotional, yes, emotional blackmail simply has to do with the fact that people manipulating people's emotions in order to get what they want. It's as simple as that. So people use a certain kind of approach to manipulate your emotions so that they can get what they want. And usually what they want, they need it all right, but the other person they want it from, right? The person may not need it, or the person may not be comfortable with it. But because they need it, they would manipulate your emotions so that they can get it. So that is basically emotional
So
blackmail. So
mhm.
yes, that relationship maybe it's beneficial for you. You care about the other person, and you also want to please the other person. The person knows about it, and because of that, they use your own weakness in terms of your perception about the relationship and your own needs about the relationship. They use that as a way to get you to do what they want, because you also as a victim may be afraid to lose that relationship or the benefits of that relationship. So because they know that you are also dependent on them or dependent on that relationship for something, they would use that as a door to be able to manipulate your emotions to get what they want. Right. So they may use threats, they may use your own vulnerabilities and also secrets to be secrets that you may have shared with them as a
Yeah.
means or as a tool to manipulate you to get what they want. Right. So all of us in certain relationships want something and we want to make it clear to the other person. But this one, it becomes destructive because it is one way. It is for the other person's benefit and not a certain mutual benefit, regardless of how harmful or how dangerous or how uncomfortable it is. The other person would have to do it because of their own insecurities and vulnerabilities. And so basically, that is what emotional blackmail is.
Wow. Wow. So, dog, what are the situations that brings about emotional blackmail? What would somebody want to actually use because they have advantage to you, because they think that you need them, or because they think you know something that you don't want anybody to know, and they want to you? Why would such thing be done? Why would a situation like that bring about emotional?
Well, generally people want what they want, and what they want will make them feel a certain way, and they may be dependent on that. So one, it is purely one of the things that is based on people's selfish needs. Those
Yeah.
needs may be genuine, right? Maybe a genuine need for love and care and a certain attention. But that genuine need and love and care must be a mutual thing so that the person giving it may also feel comfortable giving it. I hope you understand. So that is the first thing. Their own unmet needs can drive them into things like that. Then the second is that everybody growing up grew up with a certain kind of insecurities around them. And those insecurities makes them dependent on other people they can get. So dependency on others to meet their own insecurities can be a factor or a reason why
Mm.
people do what they want. The third one has to do with jealousy. Anybody who is over protective of their relationships and what they have, right? They can manipulate others so that they don't lose what they have, right? So jealousy, in terms of they wanting to possess what they have, and so that what they have would continually be there in a way they themselves would be happy about. they may blackmail people in order to maintain that. Then the next one I should is there are some people who generally have some personality problems and they may feel overly important and overly insecure. They may even have self-image problems, right? And because of that, they use relationships to cover or be able to maintain their own sanity. If I am to put it that way, to maintain their own sanity about things, right? So they may overly use other people to maintain that kind of sanity. Then I would also add that there are people who they've just developed that attitude of control. They've never lost any control, and so the fact that I will lose or I won't get what I want, they've never lived that kind of life before because probably growing up, everything they want, they get. Like if you have a child, everything the child wants, they get. They live in a certain community or a certain environment. So everything they want, they get. So now they take that into a certain relationship too, so that they can get what they want. So they've developed that kind of attitude and mindset over time. So what I want is what I get. So now they may manipulate the other person to get what they want because that is what they've known about life and getting what they want. So basically these are some of the factors that may be. Then also the fact that the victim may also have some insecurities and some vulnerabilities, and they will capitalize on that, be able to manipulate them. So if the victim is normally strong, they know what they want, they are assertive, they may not compromise. Whatever you do is your own business. They may not be able to emotionally, blackmail them
Yeah.
effectively. So the insecurities and vulnerabilities in the other person also causes them to have that advantage over the other person. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, Doc, how would I know that I'm being blackmailed emotionally? How can one know
Well,
that I'm being blackmailed emotionally? Because trust me, most people might not even know that certain things that goes on in their relationship, it is emotional blackmail. People might not even know. So how would I know that? Oh, this one I'm being blackmailed emotionally.
so there are some things you can look out for. Any kind of relationship that becomes one-sided all the time, and the fact that the person wants you to do what they want all the time, it is possible the person is emotionally blackmailing you. So it's what I want, regardless of the impact on you, right? The person makes a certain demand on you about what they want, right? The second one is fear. Anybody who puts a certain fear in you that if you don't do this, this is going to happen, or if you don't do this, you are going to lose this. There are some people who say that, okay, if you don't give me this, this is going to happen, or that won't happen. The use of fear. Anybody who uses fear, right, to get what they want from you because they have a certain relationship with you, it can be a sign of emotional blackmail. Then also anybody who puts a lot of guilt on you, right? Guilt, they make you feel guilty for either not giving them what they want or doing what they like, right?
Yeah,
It's like they project guilt on you so that you would rather feel guilty for not
yeah,
complying with what they want, right? If
yeah.
it's possible, you are really being blackmailed. Then also anybody who makes you feel obligated to do something because of that relationship they have with you, right? So they make you feel that it is a must for you to do it, right? If you don't do it, then it's like we are not in a relationship. That kind of obligation. So far as I'm with you, so far as you are around, so far as this, that, it means that you are obligated to do it, right? It
Okay.
may be a sign that you are emotionally blackmailed. And usually those who emotionally blackmail have a certain nice way of going about it. They may have the ability to coax you. They may have the ability to project their own emotions, on you. They can talk and sweet talk you into certain things you don't want to do. It's like I said, that'll be,
Now,
will be,
I
that
think that-
way. Some of them have, and some of them they put up all kinds of behaviors. Some of them may put up all kinds of behaviors, right, which they may have developed over some time, right, to fuel that kind of demands on you.
Hmm.
So these are some of the things to look out for. Any relationship that becomes one-sided most of the time, right, the person would have to push you into doing things you don't want to do, and there is some fear or threat, or there is some obligation or guilt about everything that you do, right? So that the person feels better all the time. then it's likely you are being emotionally blackmailed.
Okay. So can we relate bullying to emotionally blackmail? People who bully, people who bully like in relationships and all that, maybe in school and all that. Is it emotionally blackmail?
Yeah, well, there are about four styles. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Prof. So,
Four styles of emotional blackmail. I want to mention them quickly. Four styles of emotional blackmail.
okay.
Right. The first is what we call punishers. Right. There are some emotional blackmailers who use punishment as a means to blackmail you. So, for example, if you don't sleep with me, I will do this to you. Or if you don't give me this, I will do this to you.
You
These
don't.
are punishers.
Okay.
Punishment, punishers can be bullies, like if you can call it, right? Like the words you use, right? They put a certain fear in you in order to
You.
get what they want. They are called. Then the second group is what we call self-punishers. Self-punishers are people who would self-punish themselves if you don't do what they want. So, for example, I will not eat because you do this for me. I will not do. I will do this to myself, right? So that you feel guilty that I'm doing
Self.
something.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm myself so that you do what you have to do. So they are called self-punishers. Some will say, okay,
Okay.
I will not do this, or I will do this to myself if you don't do this and that. Some may even threaten to kill themselves if you don't do something for them, right?
Yeah.
It is emotional blackmail. Then the next group is what we call the sufferers. The sufferers are people who would express a certain emotional suffering or a certain kind of, you know, suffering so that you would feel some empathy for them or feel guilty, about the fact that you are not doing what you are doing because of that they are suffering, right? So if you don't give me this, right, because you are not giving me this, that is why this and this and this is happening to me. That kind of, so they tell you they are going through a certain suffering because you are not doing this and that for them. Then the last one is what we call the tantalizers. They are people who would say that if you do this for me, I am going to do this for you. So they virtually place a reward on the demand, something better on the relationship, so that the person will be
Hmm.
forced to do what.
Well, our network is, I don't know.
The lines are breaking.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's then I think we need to run it so that it doesn't go off.
Is
All right. So, okay, Doug. So, how do you break out or handle emotional blackmail? Then let me chip this one. It means that are we also blackmailing our children emotionally? Because sometimes you want them to go and bath and you go like, if you don't go and bath, I won't give you this. If you don't go and do this, when you do,
well,
mm-hmm.
we can't. Some parents may blackmail their kids, but not on that level.
Okay,
Trying to enforce discipline is not emotionally blackmail.
all right,
Some parents, for example, older parents may emotionally blackmail their kids by making them feel bad about they not doing some stuff for them, right? So
yeah,
until they do it, they may express a certain kind of emotional, response and all that. So it can be on also amongst parents and kids. It can even from kids to adults, right?
yeah. But there,
Children and their parents.
okay. So I'm
Yes,
thinking that when you do that to your child, the child also learn that style, and maybe when the child grows up, will also use that style to have his or her way.
exactly. Exactly, like I said earlier on, right? Some
Yeah.
children learn it from childhood, right? And they put that on their in their relationships or those they are in a relationship with, right? But let me quickly, before
Okay.
we go to how people can come out, there are certain things you must know that emotional blackmail doesn't just happen. It goes through a certain kind of stages, right? And
Okay.
when you allow it to continue, then it will stay, right? So first of all, the person who wants to emotionally blackmail you will put a demand on you, right? Okay, do this for me. So they place a demand, right? Then when you realize that the demand is uncomfortable, you go into the next stage we call resistance. So there's first
Okay.
a demand. And if in a relationship you realize that the demand is too much and it's affecting you, you put up a resistance. So anybody who is being emotionally blackmailed will tell you that when this started, I put up a certain resistance, right? It's like
Okay.
what is uncomfortable with us, we put up a certain resistance, right? So, for example, you're in a relationship with someone, the person wants something from you, and what they want from you, you know that you cannot offer, or it becomes difficult for you to comply, right? Initially, you put up a resistance. Then, what the blackmailer will do is that they continue the pressure, right? And all the threats and stuff like that, and the pressure. They'll keep putting pressure on you. Do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. And if you fail to do it, then the threats begin. Then they begin to threaten you that if you don't do this, this will happen. If you don't do this, I will take this from you, I will do this to you, or I'll do this to myself. The threats will continue. Then when the threats continue, then you comply because you don't want to lose the relationship, you don't want to lose the other person. So there's a demand, then there is pressure, there's a resistance from you, then the pressure continues. If it still doesn't work, then the threatens begin. When the threatens
Okay.
begin, you don't want the outcome, then you comply, right? The
Okay.
moment you comply, then it becomes the norm. It will repeat.
Okay. Okay.
So in order to deal with it, you need to know, you need to be able to identify that
And then
whatever continue, if I don't stop it, because I allowed it and I complied in the first place, it is going to continue.
yeah.
It is going to continue. Because at some point, if at the demand stage, when they are putting demands on you, your resistance is good, right? And you
Yeah.
do not comply, regardless of the threats, it will stop. But the moment, after the threats, you give in or you comply, now you've taught the blackmailer what to do so that you comply,
Yeah.
right? You've given them, right? Because they know that when they explore that vulnerability, it's like they strike on a nerve. Like, if you don't do it, I will reveal this secret and you comply. Then they will use that channel all the time to get what they want.
Okay.
Or if you don't, I will kill myself. Then they use that as the key to maintain that blackmail. Or if you do this for me, I will do this for you. The moment you comply, so whatever strategy they use that works, they are going to use that strategy again or change their strategy until something works, right?
Okay.
So it goes through a certain stages, and those stages, the moment it gets to the compliance, where you begin to comply, it will continue. So people in relationships who are currently unhappy about the content of the relationship and what they are doing, right? They will tell you that, at some point, because they gave in, right? Now it has continued. And the blackmailer will feed on that fear or guilt or obligation, right? To be able to continue to manipulate you until a
Mm.
time where you become conscious of that manipulation, and that you decide that you won't go ahead again, right? So to be able to help people, like you asked, the first is that they need to be able to recognize the difference between emotional blackmail and someone who just needs help, right? So you need to realize that if it is threatening you, it is causing a certain fear, discomfort for you, and the person doesn't care about the outcome, it is emotional blackmail. Recognize that this is a blackmail so that you can have a certain mindset and attitude towards it, right? The next thing you need to do is to affirm your own securities, right? If you feel insecure, you can be manipulated. If you feel dependent on someone, you can be manipulated. If you feel obligated, right, about something, you will be manipulated. So after recognizing that this is emotional blackmail, right, you need to be able to affirm your own securities so that you can be confident in yourself that regardless of what happens around me, I don't care.
Yeah.
I hope you understand. You are in a relationship. He threatens that if you don't do this with me, I will leave. You need to assert your own, security and says that if he leaves, he can leave. Whatever happens, I don't care. I can be able to survive. I can be able to deal this myself. I hope you understand. You need to first, assert your own securities and be confident in your own self, who you are, what you have, and what you can do. Because they feed on fear. Emotional blackmail feeds on fear, on insecurities, your secrets and stuff like that. Then the third thing is that you need to be assertive. Assertive means that you need to be able to insist on what is right and what is mutually beneficial. Otherwise, be assertive enough to walk away, right? Because that if you are not assertive about your own self and about the things that you yourself have, and about yes or no, if you are not assertive, emotional blackmail will continue. But if they place a demand and you resist and resist effectively, it will stop. But if you are not able to assert properly, it's likely to continue. Then the next thing I would suggest is that you need to be able to talk to someone who can advise and also help you out of that situation. Sometimes when you talk to a professional or someone who can help you, to a professional or someone who can help you, they can, clear your doubts about what is going on. They can put you, whatever is going on in a very good perspective for you, and they can help you analyze and assess the situation properly, and even give you the tools to cope in the absence of or the threat of the person, right? So you may have to talk to someone about it so that the person, especially a professional, so that the person can help. Usually it's when we talk to the wrong people, they are the ones who can push us to continue that kind of behavior. So you talk to a friend will say that, oh, wait, so if you do it for the person, what will happen to you, right? So some friends who do not even understand what is going on may even push you to continue that kind of behavior or continue or perpetuate that emotional blackmail for a long time. But you need to be assertive and affirm, assert your influence over that kind of relationship. Then maybe the final thing I would say is that generally you need to be come to a certain compromise. If you still want to maintain the relationship, you need to now start dictating things on your own terms and not the other person's terms, right? You need to establish a certain compromise in that relationship. Then I would add that walk away, right? Walk away if it is hurting you or making your life worse, right? Because you don't have to be dependent on anybody to be able to feel fine. So any relationship that has become toxic and is affecting you and destroying your own life, you just sometimes have to walk away so that the blackmail does not continue, because it may affect your own personal development and growth, and it may affect everything around you. So this is what I want to suggest to people to deal with problem.
Okay, can you go over it again? Recognize the difference. Please, let's share the page so that we help somebody, because you might never know. So please, can you go over it again for them so that we can all know that this is what we look out for and how to deal with it?
So recognize what it is. Recognize that this is emotional blackmail and see it as such so that you can deal with it. So recognize that it is emotional blackmail, right? The next one is that affirm your own securities. Affirm your own securities, right? Affirm yourself that you are okay. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not the person responsible, right? You can be better yourself. You don't need to depend on people to be okay for yourself. I hope you understand, because insecurities will fuel, what do you call it? Emotional blackmail. The third one is be assertive. Assertiveness means that yes should be yes, no should be no. Put up a resistance, because when the demand is placed and you put up that resistance at the early stage, it is likely the blackmail will not continue, right? Put up a good resistance or assertive. Then the next one I said is that you need to talk to someone who can help you out of it. You need to talk to someone who can help you out of it. And 5, I forgot to add, the 5th one is identify your triggers, right? And be able to know it. Because if the person knows that this is the trigger, they will continue to use that against you. So you need to be able to identify your triggers and be able to manage your own triggers so that it doesn't become a trigger again. right? So these are the 5 things that I want to. Then the last one I forgot to add is that you may have to come to a compromise if that relationship has to continue. What it means is that dictate your own terms and make sure that both of you agree on a certain term that is mutually beneficial, right? So it's not always what that person wants, but it should be something that it should be mutual. So these are the 6 things that I would suggest to help anybody out of it.
Walk away. The last one was
Yes,
walk away.
yes, walk away, right? So walk away from any toxic relationship that is affecting you, because sometimes, you know, anybody who really cares about you will not blackmail you, right? Anybody who really loves you and really wants that relationship would be mutual in terms of their perception and whatever comes out of that relationship. They will not emotionally, you know, manipulate you for what they want. So it means that that relationship is bad. So walk away.
Okay. So, Doug, this is the time for questions. So, please, you can ask your questions. You've said a lot about emotional blackmailing. It has been a very educative one, and I mean, we've learned a lot. So, if you have questions, please push it up. Doug, there's one here. What if the person you can confide in is the one emotionally blackmailing you? Wow.
Well, so confiding means confide to someone who is external, someone who is a professional, right? So not just anybody, but you confide in someone who can help you, and likely a professional. It can be a counselor, a psychologist, an older person who knows about these things and can counsel you and help you out. So you don't confide in people who cannot help. Not like the friend who is somewhere who cannot help, or that person you know who cannot help, but you confide in people who can help you, preferably a professional, to help you deal with that kind of blackmail.
Okay. That's a very good answer. And there was a question. I'm looking for it. Okay. Will an anticipation of an unknown future that makes one palpitate be a mental unwellness? From Kobina. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I haven't seen it. But anytime people are insecure about their own futures, it opens them up to all kinds of mental problems and relationship problems. There are a lot of people who are still in a certain relationship because of fear of the unknown or fear of a certain consequence. That is why they are still there, right? If I leave, what will happen to me? If I leave, what will come up in the future? You know, and so people are consistently in a certain bad relationship, right? So fear of the unknown can cause unnecessary anxiety, stress, depression, and all that, right? Because if your perception about yourself, the world around you, and the future is negative, you would have some and some mental health issues. It is what we call the cognitive triad, right? Your perception of fear about yourself, the world, and the future, right? Yourself, the world around you, and the future. Any fear at all, insecurities, anxiety about anything around you can cause all kinds of mental health issues. Yes.
Yeah. That's a very good one. What kind of help is available? So, Doug, let's say, what kind of help is that? What kind of help is available? Psychologists? Do you have any kind of help? Anyway, Weinglo Family International has a team as well of psychologists and all that. But aside that, what kind of help is out there that anybody can just pick a phone, or somebody can just talk to a professional and all that? You are a professional as well, so yeah.
Yeah, so currently, you know, anybody with any issues I've talked about, right? Any issues with your thinking, feelings, and behavior, any psychological problem, any relationship problem, can walk into any hospital, talk to anybody there, and they will refer them to a counselor or psychologist. There's a lot of help out there,
Okay.
right? So they
A
can
lot of
just walk into, right.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Dog, I wanted what are the effects of emotional blackmail on someone? What can be the effect?
Well, it may cause several things. Let me mention them. One, unhappiness. Anybody who is being blackmailed will not be happy, right? Unhappiness. They may be sad all the time. Two, they will feel used and drained, right? Anybody who is being emotionally blackmailed will be drained because they always have to satisfy someone's needs, right? It may be their emotional needs or their sexual needs or their financial needs, some kind of need, right? And that puts undue stress on them. So they may become emotionally drained or very weak, such that they cannot be able to be about their own stuff. The third is that it may stop their personal progress, right? Your own progress with your own life, with your own relationships, with your own education, finances, whatever it is, it may stop your progress, right? The next thing that emotional blackmail can do to the victim is that some of them can actually be so stressed that they may even kill themselves or harm themselves, right? Because they cannot take any longer, right? They may not be able to take it longer. The next one is that it will disrupt your relationships. So anybody who is being emotionally blackmailed may not survive that relationship. The relationship may dissipate very soon. It may take, but it may disappear very soon. And when it does, moving into another relationship may be difficult
Okay.
because that experience
Yeah.
would be a basis for the next relationship.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who avoid relationships or commitment. You know, when you meet people who do not want to make commitments
Yeah.
to any relationship, possible they've been blackmailed before, right? So now they don't want to be attached to anybody for them to be blackmailed again, because that emotional experience can be very, very, daunting.
All right. Oh, I don't know, but you've said it all, and I believe that we have learned a lot from today's topic. In fact, you've done it all. Please, what are your last words? What will you tell viewers out there? What's the advice? Because people are going through it. I get calls, and there's some of the things that I hear. I just feel that people are just wicked. Some people are just wicked. There was this lady who called and talking about the fact that the man she has to lick the man's anus for a whole nasty thing, and she's in there because it's for a ritual or something, and she wants to just come out of it. She doesn't even know what to talk to. So what are your last words?
I,
What would be your advice?
I would I would say that sometimes you have to just close your eyes and take a jump. If you break your legs, wear POP and continue.
That's all.
Take a jump, because it's the
Yes.
fear that causes you to stay. The fear and the guilt, right? And the fact that I am responsible. You are not responsible for anything. You are not guilty
Mhm.
for someone else's
And
problems or
the stigma out there.
right. Yes, you are not, and they will not die. You will also not die if they walk away. So don't be trapped in fear and a certain kind of pain. Just take it, just walk out. If you realize that it is draining you. And at certain stage of your life, you should be building relationships that are meaningful and that will progress you.
Yeah.
And if by any means you are struggling to deal with a problem, just speak to a professional. I want to say this because you see, there are a lot of help out there people do not know. See, people walk into the hospital with a headache, with a normal cough or a catarrh, and even if they are staying home, they wouldn't die. But they go to the hospital anyway for help. In the same way, emotional problems, issues with your thinking and behavior, anything that is causing a certain distress, dysfunction, right? And your thinking, feelings, and behavior, and you're struggling, just walk into any clinic and find help. So it is a health issue that requires help, right? It is a health issue that requires help. So just go to the hospital, right? Talk to a professional about it. And usually when they do, they realize that they were suffering unnecessarily. If they had come earlier on, way better. And that is the response I always people come and see me in the hospital, right? They say, so why didn't I come earlier? Because they didn't know that they needed help, right?
Yeah.
So it is not a person, it is a health issue that requires a certain professional help, right? And sometimes you just have to jump. If you break your legs, wear POP and continue.
Thank you very much, Doc. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. We know we'll bring you back again because it's about suicide prevention, and we want to deal with stresses of life, and that's what you for us today. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you to
You
God.
can follow her
And
and
let me say a final word, right?
okay.
Um, and I've also realized that any suffering you go through, just pray about it,
Yeah.
right? Prayer and meditation, gives people a certain kind of ease to take the right decisions.
Okay.
It gives them a good perspective about life,
Yeah.
right? And in this life, God has a role to play with all of us,
Sure.
because we all don't know. So I'm a psychologist. I may go through emotional problems myself, and sometimes you don't even know how to deal with your own
Also,
emotional problems.
yes.
So knowledge is not the ultimate, right?
Okay.
Sometimes we just need to depend on God to help us. And
All right.
one day you may wake up out of that kind of situation. Yeah. So you need to prayer and meditation helps a lot in a lot of mental health. When people pray and meditate, they get a better perspective to life. They are able to cope better. They are able to endure better. Like it
Yeah.
helps them becomes better with everything. So
Sure.
maybe that will be my final.
Please, can you share
And
your Instagram page? What's there so that they can follow you, and if they have other questions, they can ask.
well, my page is Isaac Newman Atta. So any of the handles, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, is Isaac Newman Atta.
Okay.
That's it. When
Thank
you see my nice one.
you. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you. Bye. Wow, we've been learning about how to handle emotional blackmail. And trust me, we have learned a lot. Those who just joined us, I can just run through what we learned. We learned that to handle emotional blackmail, recognize that it is emotional blackmail. Whatever you're going to, make sure you recognize it is emotional blackmail. Affirm your own security. You need to be assertive. Talk to someone who is a professional that can help you out of it. Identify your triggers. Come to a compromise. Walk away, and above all, pray, because like he said, and like we know, God is the only one that can take you out of certain situations. I mean, all the situations. So pray and seek wisdom. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Those who just joined us, you can have this video on our YouTube page, Weinglo Family International. Please subscribe so that you get alerts and updates on everything that we do here to help you grow mentally. Enjoy your evening and bye.